All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is day one of becoming the CEO week, and we are super excited to dive right in. Today, we're talking about the four simple ways to maximize your life force and get shit done. Now, before we jump in, I just want to quickly reintroduce Brian for those of you guys who haven't seen him yet, haven't met him yet. Brian is a holistic lifestyle coach and a Reiki master. He is one of the coaches inside of our Time Freedom Club program, and he also is running the Becoming the CEO, the brand new co-working program. We are running that one together as well. So, welcome, Brian. Maybe you can just start with a quick little intro and then we'll dive in.
Yes, hello everyone. Yeah, just excited to get things started here on Monday. We did kind of, to be honest with you and transparent, we did kind of wake up in that Monday vibe. And we still went into our routines and stuff like that. We were chatting before we got on the call to go like where are we at? What are we gonna share? We made some notes earlier, and then you gave me the four things that you gave me back the four things that I gave you, and I was just like, that's fucking boring. I'm gonna go get a coffee and think this out, and like, who wants to sit and listen to us tell them that you gotta sleep or eat right or move right or hydrate,
All
blah blah
important
blah.
things, all
All
important
important
things.
things, but let's just assume that we're at a level now where we know that, right?
Yeah, fair.
And everyone here is. So, but like, what more? How can we deepen the conversation, right? So, as a lot of us do now as entrepreneurs, we can actually lean on AI for this. So, I did go to ChatGPT to get some more ideas after I tried to refine and upgrade what we had discussed earlier. But we got some more things, and some of them were aligned with what we were going to say, but we also got a bonus one, a fifth one as
Yeah.
well. So, would you like to just start and get into them or
Yeah. So let's
yeah.
first of all just like tell everybody what the five are. So we were supposed
Okay.
to do four, but now we got some ideas flowing. And sometimes this happens, right? You guys, you go to do something and you think you have it and you're like, yeah, that's solid. And then you look at it again and you're like, no, not quite right. So I think there's already a lesson in that where like people have to be willing and able to kind of shift in the moment. So I think
Yeah.
that was a great way to start. So, the five things that we actually were able to really pull and put together with what we had already thought of, and then some of the ideas that were generated this morning. The first one is energy clearing and alignment. I'm going to get Brian to dive into that one a little bit. Food, nourishment, and movement is the second one. The third one, rest and recovery. That's huge. And fourth, purpose driven action. We'll dive into that. And then the fifth one is human connection, which of course, that is one of our main ones. That is such a huge part of who we are and what we do and what we stand for and how we run our business and all of that stuff. So let's kind of go back. Let's start with the energy clearing in the alignment section. So you and I actually have a lot of these practices in place. So for those people who aren't really familiar with what energy clearing and maybe a little bit about alignment really means, like, can you start with that for us?
Yeah, what was suggested as well as things we've done. Like, I'm a Reiki master, so practices in Reiki, breath work we do in some of our co-working sessions, breath sequences, meditation, things that allow you to go inward first before you go outward, right?
Mhm.
And if you were to like scan your body, for example, and if you're really nervous, for example, you're about to do a big presentation or something like that, or you're about to launch something, like if you go into your body, you might even feel like this morning, for exa right now, real time example, I feel knots in my gut, right? And I tend to feel this a lot more on Mondays as of recent because so much has changed in my life in the last year to 2 years, but more so in the last, several months where we're doing new things with the business. My life has changed a lot personally. I also, teach on Mondays too, so I'm always thinking about what am I going to do with the kids and all that stuff. So like, there's a lot of things going on Monday morning that causes this feeling or these knots in my gut, which is the solar plexus area, the area where your confidence is, your courage, all that stuff. So
Mhm.
when we get to this first one on energy clearing and alignment, is like, where are you feeling it in your body, right? And what can you do to ease the tension or ease what you're feeling in there? Even sometimes just discussing and being aware that the reason why that feeling is there and why you're feeling it is because of this. So, what things do you have in your control to show up your absolute best in that situation? Sit down and prepare a lesson plan. Go for a walk. There's a bunch of different things that we could do
Yeah.
that can clear the energy to allow in this area. In number one is the main thing is getting clarity and confidence, like lighting your fire up so you can go take on the day.
Yeah, I love that. And this has become so much more of a practice since you have, been doing all of this stuff. And since we've been together, it is something that has changed a lot in my life. And I used to do a whole bunch of different things, but now things are more sort of consistent. And I know that, even on the days when we are waking up, and this happens to all of us, right? So this is like full transparency here. And it doesn't matter what level that you're at, whether you're just starting out, whether you're making six figures already, whether you're making seven figures, like everybody has days where they wake up and things are not feeling exactly how they should. And so, this is something that we've just put into practice that we do on a regular basis every single morning so that we're not allowing ourselves to kind of get carried away with out of alignment or negative thoughts or any of that stuff. So I think just for everybody who is looking for some different ways to do this, and it doesn't have to be long, right? Could be a quick breath work, like 2 minutes. It could be a quick meditation. It could be chanting, which is one that we've started to do since we went to the retreat in December. Um, it could be journaling. Like there's so many different ways. And I think one of the key things to just know here is that it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be this like miracle morning hour long process. It can be like 3 to 5 minutes, get it done, move on, right? So I love the energy clearing piece. I love the alignment piece and I find that at least for me when I do this stuff, I can then come out of it and I can think clearly and then I have more ideas and things just start to feel better so I can get into the day. So thank you for that one. Huge
One
one.
one more thing I can share, a very practical
Yeah.
thing I can share with in the alignment space as well. We have a big wall calendar. We got our stuff right up in our visual like space. And in the alignment space too, a big thing is like, especially on a Monday or Sunday night, looking at your week and looking at your calendar
Mhm.
as you take a breath, calm yourself down a little bit, look at your week and go, what would make this week a massive win by
Yeah.
Friday afternoon, right?
Yeah.
And just like look at it. Don't even try to problem solve yet. Just look at it and go, how do I want this week to play out?
Yeah.
And just like forecast it a little bit. Just and that's the actual process of aligning with whatever the outcome is. But if you don't know where you want to end up and how you want to feel by the end of the week, we just get into the motions and we just get into the doing and there's
Yeah.
no being there's no alignment. You're
Yeah.
just doing stuff. You're just a human doing, right? So
Yeah.
that's
That's a
one thing
huge
that I
one.
can share. That's a very practical way to approach it as well.
Yeah, that's a huge one. We'll come back to when we talk about purpose driven action in a few minutes.
Yeah.
So let's go into the second one. So nourishment, food, nutrition, and movement. That's the second one that we had talked about. So talk to us a little bit about that and how we can use it for the purpose of getting back life force and being able to get shit done, right? Because everyone out there knows you need to exercise, you need to eat well. Like this is not a secret, but it's like, how do we use it in a way that is purposefully helping us maximize our productivity, get shit done, be able to move forward, and all of that?
Yeah, I could approach it from two different ways. One way is from the not doing or blowing off these things point of view, where sometimes we get too busy and everything else has a greater priority over sitting down and having a normal meal like a normal person, or there's too much going on, I can't work out, right? So
Mm,
there's a part of us that sometimes will blow off these things, not realizing that those things are actually going to manage our stress, going to make us perform better, going to allow us to show up at our best when it's time to execute, right?
yeah.
So that's one thing to consider. We tend to sometimes prioritize, you know, all the other stressful things we're trying to manage over actually doing the working out, eating properly, hydrating, and all that stuff. When it's we gotta eat anyways,
Yeah.
right? We gotta hydrate anyways, right? So, um, find a way to prioritize this in a way that fits in your situation, right? That's
Yeah.
the one thing I could share that, minimum effective dose I've talked about a number of times, right? So what's the minimum effective dose of exercise and being as clean as possibly as you can with your nutrition, that's reasonable enough for your situation so that you can continue moving forward, right? So the
Yeah.
other one too is on that same point is don't set yourself up to fail by become deciding to set these crazy health performance goals
Right.
that like no entrepreneur probably in this space needs to bench 300 pounds, squat 400 pounds.
Right.
Like, I mean, have at it if that's what you want to do, but like none of us need to put ourselves at risk. None of us need to be focusing so acutely in these areas. It's really about just health performance and performance for your sport, which is your business, your lifestyle, what you do on the day to day, what you
Yeah.
want to experience in your life, right?
Yeah.
If you want to compete and be at this other level, that's a choice that has nothing to do with your business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I found this too when I was competitive in powerlifting. I actually prioritized powerlifting over even my career, my family life, my relationships, my social life.
Mm.
I prioritize it over everything, and there was no financial outcome from that sport.
Right.
It's just I just that was obsessed with. So when I retired from that, I realized, wow, I got a whole like career I got to build now,
Mm. Yeah.
and a life. So um, find the right sweet spot of
Balance.
what you
Yeah.
need to be doing so that you can continue moving forward and performing at your best when you show up to your activities.
Yeah. I think too, like if you guys have been with me for any sort of length of time and you've heard me talk about your perfectly planned week, you know that the number one thing that I always recommend is to put in your personal stuff onto your calendar first. Not your client sessions, not your group coaching, not your admin stuff, you. So when we're talking about movement and fuel, and we're going to talk about rest and recovery in a minute, the first priority is to get those things into your calendar, and it's not to be sitting at your desk while you're eating and still typing, right? It's not to be trying to work and manage kids who are now home in the evening and be eating your dinner at the same time. Like this is not the way that things need to run. And it's all going to come back to your productivity and your focus and all that stuff, which we're going to talk about throughout the week. But I think that the key thing here, if there's any takeaway, is that you guys need to plan this stuff into your calendars and that it comes first. It does not happen in the nooks and crannies after you've done everything else and put everything else into that calendar. It is number one. You, food and movement, and then rest and recovery. So let's move into rest and recovery and talk about that one a little bit.
Okay, yeah, we all know that we need to sleep at night and rest and recover and all that stuff, but what does it really mean and what does it really look like, right? So, in some cases as well, like, one of the things that we've been doing is like we've blacked out our our windows and improved the lighting in the room and stuff like that, but also just like when I do like a sleep reboot with clients, the interesting thing around that is usually if sleep is a priority for them that they're struggling with, it's usually because they're up later than they need to be,
Mm,
like past midnight on devices, on screens, all that
yeah.
stuff. So just the very act of saying nothing, if you change nothing else and all we changed was try to get you to bed before 11 every night, what would that
Mhm.
take? That means a whole bunch of other things. It means by this time you're off your phone. By this time your TV's turned off, lights are turned down. By this time you have to have your teeth brushed and you're ready for bed. And specifically before 11, lights out, not just going upstairs at 11, it's time for bed. Like
Yeah.
all these activities have to happen before lights out before 11. So it
Yeah.
automatically starts changing routines. I've done this with people before. And within a few days, their body composition numbers have changed. Their addictions to sugar have changed.
Yeah.
Also, when you wake up tired, you're going to be relying on caffeine, you're relying on sugar, making really suboptimal choices throughout
Yeah.
your day. And then when a client or somebody's in front of you, we can't help it as, because this is what we do, we can't help it but deliver our absolute best. But if we don't have our best, we're delivering our absolute best at the expense of our adrenaline, our
Yeah.
hormones, all the other things that are required to show up that way. And that's not sustainable. And over time, you can't even fake it anymore. So
Yeah.
let's stop making excuses about, oh, I can't sleep at night. There's too much going on. I can't get to bed. We have to move towards making it optimal
Yeah.
and not accepting that a suboptimal way of approaching rest and recovery is going to work. Also, the thing the day to day is leaving the desk for a few minutes, like
Mm.
getting outside, breathing in the fresh air, whether it's winter or summertime.
Yeah.
Taking a moment to just sit and breathe and just stare and just even David Goggins, the most hardworking, like crazy, like fitness influencer you've ever seen, calls it mental health recovery stations. So
Yeah.
like he'd be working all day and then he'll have a certain things that he does that is just for his mental health and his ability to just recover and pause for a minute so he can get back to performing at his best. So
Yeah.
we have to prioritize, and it goes beyond sleeping at night. It's during the day too. Like we've done like these power naps. When we first had my son, it was the power naps in the afternoon that was like the biggest game changer for me, right?
Absolutely.
So those are some things to consider in keeping your life force up with regards to rest and recovery and prioritizing that as well as something that just absolutely needs to be done.
Yeah. So there's a few things in there. So one is I totally have a station which is out the front door. So in the middle of the day when I'm between calls and stuff, I will totally go to the front door, just open it up, stand there for a minute or two, depending on the time of the day. The sun is like coming right at me, get some sun in my, in my face, in my eyes, and totally do a little bit of a reset there. And then the afternoon nap is key. I don't know about you guys, but if you're a human design person and you know anything about a projector is not meant to like hustle and grind and work all day, which is maybe why I've created a business where I only have to work 30 hours a week because I can't. I just don't have that kind of focus and energy to go all day long. And if I need the power nap in the afternoon, I do it like 20 minutes, eyes closed, and that gives me that like second win so that I can do the rest of the day. So again, it's like just trying to find those pockets of time wherever you can. Everyone's busy, everyone has families, everyone has, you know, people that they're taking care of or things they need to do for themselves or whatever it is. But we all need to somehow figure out how to get that time in so you guys can be able to work optimally and be productive when you are working and not, Brian keeps talking about this suboptimal position. We just don't want to be there. Right. So we want to make sure that we're not only getting the sleep at night, but taking those breaks in the middle of the day, getting a little bit of rest in the middle of the day, if necessary, and then being able to be super productive in the hours that we are working instead of being suboptimal for 5 hours a day.
Yeah, just to share a little bit on the human design side too. I'm a generator, so when I take my, mental health break or when I take my afternoon nap, if I'm doing that or meditation or something, it is because I can no longer respond to people. I'm done. Like I literally get one text message and I'm just like, fuck this. I just want to throw this phone outside. And that's when I know I'm done. That's when I know I'm like, I need to do what I need to do so I can come back. And what happens to me is when I do a meditation in the afternoon or nap or whatever, I'm up and you've seen me like into the night.
Yeah.
I'm creating and working and I'll get an inspired creative idea at friggin' 9:30 at night now. Like
Yeah.
that's
I have to nap so I can keep up.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm like, but like when I'm doing my things, it's like it carries on like throughout. And I have to, being a generator, I have to be ready to respond when the inspiration hits.
Yeah.
That's what it is for me because I don't know when it's going to happen. I can't,
Yeah.
I'm different in the sense that I can't structure myself into a fixed calendar because I can't guarantee that I'm going to be inspired in that moment when I'm supposed to be writing. So like I have to like keep my energy up, my life force
Yeah.
up, and then when it hits me, I can respond. And it's actually very quick. I can get the notes down, I can create that thing or whatever, or that article or a blog or whatever in such a short period of time. It just
Yeah.
downloads so quickly. But with my energy low, I can't even receive. So
Yeah.
that's just something to consider for anyone who's thinking that.
Yeah. So this is actually a perfect segue into purpose-driven action, which is the next thing that we're going to talk about. So
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about like what that means for you, and then we can kind of go back and forth here.
Yeah, one of the things I do when I do a course or workshop or something, and I'm looking to support people that want to make a shift in their situation. It's usually followed up with actions, right? So, but I want inspired action, right? Inspired, purpose-driven, meaningful action. So what actually makes the doing easier, right? Is when we're inspired. So, um, I think I think a big thing is we have moments of frustration where we're like, I feel like I'm spinning my wheels in the mud. I'm banging my head against the wall, whatever expression you want to use, and it doesn't seem to be coming together. I'm not fulfilled, whatever it
Yeah.
is coming back to the dream, right? So that's why we built this. We don't have a dream board, we have a dream wall, right?
Yeah.
So whenever we're lost, we come back into this room, we look at this wall, and we're been adding things. By the end of the year, it's gonna be just completely full, this wall.
Yeah.
And we're reminding ourselves of what we're aiming at, what we're moving towards. And I can't stress enough because I've went without this for so long. I can't stress enough how important it is to have your dream and your vision and where you're headed right in front of your face every day,
All the time. Yeah.
right? And building on it
Yeah.
and growing on it, interacting with it on the wall or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Because if we lose touch of that, there's little things we got to repeat every single day, non-sexy activities, very simple things that really great businesses are built upon, whether it be direct messaging or, you know, writing, creating content, whatever it is that needs to be done. Editing content's another thing. There's all these activities that we have to do, right? But they're just activities. In the end of the day, they're just activities. But if they're inspired or driven by this purpose, it makes it easier to do those things,
Yeah.
right? Like I say in a gym setting as a personal trainer, I said, a squat is just a squat until you give context to it. A squat could be dropping under a power clean. It could be a squat could be, a grandmother picking up a grandchild. A squat could be a number of different things. But a squat is just a squat until you apply it, until it's
Yeah.
applied or inspired by some sort of activity or how it applies in somebody's
Yeah.
lifestyle and their situation. So all those activities we need to do, we got to remember why we need to do them to
Yeah.
produce the results we're looking for. So that's where I come from purpose-driven action. It's always returning to your dream to have that sustained passion and for long-term success and hitting those key indicators that we want to see happen is a result of your consistent but building momentum activity.
Yeah. Perfect. Purpose-driven action. And this is such a big one, right? And this literally drives my calendar every single week. So it's knowing that why, but it's also being able to prioritize and choose and know which one is the main thing that needs to get done, and not getting lost in trying to do all the things and trying to make everyone happy. And maybe you're trying to build your content on multiple platforms, or you're trying to get on podcasts, and you're like just doing a million different things. So I think this purpose driven action is also about that clarity and that ability to prioritize which things actually need to get done that are going to produce the best results, like the greatest ROI on the work that you're doing, to bring it back in, right? And, a lot of the time, most of the time, that's going to be a revenue generating activity where you're actually doing things that are going to make you money. And this is like the foundation too of, the Time Freedom Club, where we're really focused on getting those direct messages out and connecting directly with people, which is going to lead to our final step, and creating those connections rather than trying to post on social media all day and become, a copywriter. Right. And for
Mm.
some people, maybe that's what they want to do. And you really want to get great at your writing and you want to be able to work with the algorithm and all of that stuff. But depending on what your goals are, right, we want to make sure that you are prioritizing the activity that you're doing with what the outcome that you're looking for actually is and how you want to get there. So I think that is a big part of it too, is just making sure that you're prioritizing properly throughout your week so that you're not having to work a million hours and you are having time to take the nap and you are having time to eat properly and get some movement in, and you are having time to do your meditations or your affirmations or your writing or whatever you want to do. So it's like everything comes down to this purpose driven action that not only needs to be inspired by the why, but also needs to be prioritized to get the results so that you can spend less time doing things and more time doing all the other pieces.
Yes, yes.
So the last one is I touched on it a little bit just now is talking about the human connection as a way to maximize your life force to help you get shit done. So this can show up in so many different ways. It may be connecting with an accountability partner. It may be having a coach. It may be connecting with your partner, like at home. It may be connecting with some friends or maybe your kids. It could be connecting with colleagues, right? And doing some co working like we're doing. So there's so many ways to create this human connection that can also help us feel, grounded and be able to maybe get out all the thoughts or all the worries or all of that stuff so you can clear them away. Like there's so much to be said about human connection. So maybe you can dive into that one a bit more for us.
Yeah, sometimes we forget too that we don't have to do this alone, and
Yeah.
we're often recommending that you don't. Okay, so um, things like networking, whether it be online or in person. I remember too when you know during during the pandemic, one of the things was we were told not to be in contact with people,
Mm.
right? It was the most miserable time for a lot of us because human connection was a life force builder for a
Yeah.
lot of us, right? And when we all went online and maybe we're doing predominantly all of our stuff online when before we were going to physical spaces, it got to a point where the novelty of that sort of faded, right? And we had to get back out there. That's when I started doing events and retreats, right? And just take doing like trail walks with clients and things like that, right? The human connection is and the energetic space as well. It's within 6 feet of
Mm.
each other or
Mm.
less, right?
Okay.
Connecting with people that are like-minded, that are maybe all other entrepreneurs at different levels of their business. Some are like first 2 or 3 years of their business. That's a different vibe than someone who's been in business for decades,
Yeah.
right? And I found when I first started my business, it was great to sit down with people who've been in it for over 10 years and said, you know what, Brian, I was right where you are right now in that seat, wondering what the fuck is going to happen next. You're
Yeah.
in for a really amazing, exciting, scary ride in the next 2 or 3 years when you're going to learn more about yourself than anything else,
Yeah.
right? So these things are important, and I think if I were to share anything too, it's like the people we want to spend time with are people that we come away with that exchange feeling uplifted and energized, not drained,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
People that are really good listeners.
Mm-hmm.
They listen without giving advice unless you ask for it,
Right.
right? They
Yeah.
don't tell you what to do, right? Also, we get a lift too sometimes when we're feeling down and out. If we just seek out opportunity to connect with somebody, and if they need help, you help them out or
Mm-hmm.
provide support for them, it helps you remember that you have value, that you
Yeah.
have skills, you have things that contribute, right? For me, contribution is massive. So if I don't feel like I'm contributing, um, I need to gain access to something like that or some sort of situation or exchange, even if it's I help someone in the store, carry some bags. Anything
Yeah.
that makes me feel like I'm contributing in some way
Yeah.
brings my life force back up. And it's part of that human connection. It could be with complete strangers, it could be with your best friend, it could be but it just needs to be with the right people for you, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge thing. It refreshes your perspective, and to have shared inspiration and sharing wins and maybe challenges as well makes you feel like you're not alone, and that it's very possible what you're trying to achieve, and you're going to get there with the right people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. This one has been just such a big one, and just making sure that you guys are finding those people who you can talk to, the people that you can call, the people that you can vent to, the people that you can share your wins with and celebrate with and all that stuff, and just knowing who those people are so that when things happen, you know exactly who you're reaching out to, right? And you're not waiting for them to come to you. You are just going saying, "Hey, like I need to talk," right? I think there was I can't remember exactly what he said, but Simon Sinek has this thing about calling your friend, something about, I think it's like 8 minutes or 12 minutes or something like that. And there's like a bit of a code where when they call each other and they say, "Hey, do you have 8 minutes?" They just know that that means like, I need you.
Yeah.
So, you can always have something like that going with whoever it is in your life who you think can help you in that scenario. But I would definitely recommend that you guys actually have a few different people that you go to maybe for different things that you kind of have on deck. And just making sure that you're getting some connection. And I think the other softer sort of piece of this is that even if there isn't something going on, but you just need a little bit more connection to go and do things like work in a coffee shop or go to a co-working space or get in an online co-working space or things like that, right? So that, you just have that human connection around you, even if everything is perfect, right? It doesn't always have to be because something's wrong. It's just having people around you and having that connection and being able to have that quick little chat, before and after you're working and on a little break or whatever it is. So just making sure that that is kind of staying, top of mind and that you're not sitting in your house day after day by yourself, right? And not having that interaction. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
One last thing to share too,
Yeah.
like on the other side of it is in the since we're speaking of life forces, you want to protect your life force too from the ones that could be friends that you love, family members that you love, that sometimes you need to decide when is the right time to have an exchange with them, because you could be
Yeah.
right in the thick of like a launch or something important, and all of a sudden they want to call you or connect with you and take you down this roller coaster ride of emotional drama. As much as we love them, you have to decide, is this what the right thing is for me right now? Do I feel like coaching somebody right now in their
Yeah.
personal situation
Right.
that is going to pull me away from this? Or do I need to just buy some space for a little bit, respectfully and lovingly buy some space for a little bit, and just get your stuff done, and maybe see them on your own terms,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's so critical. We only have so much time in life force every day,
Yeah.
and we have to protect it because our business and our livelihood and what we're working on is at stake.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That could have almost been its own category, just setting those boundaries, right?
Yeah.
That's really a whole other conversation, but a really great thing to just plug into everybody's mind at the end of today. So thank you guys so much. We hope that this was helpful. The four, it ended up being +1 or even two. Simple ways to maximize your life force and get shit done. That's what we're all about. We want you guys to be super productive. We want you working fewer hours, helping more people, making more money. That is the goal. And we're really excited to bring you these sessions for the rest of the week, 9 a.m. every single day. So, tomorrow we're going to be talking about the 3 keys to actualizing your dreams. We can't wait to dive into that one. We will see you guys back here tomorrow at 9 a.m.